Your mind never actually turns off. Even right now, some part of you is replaying a sentence from this morning, wondering if you said too much or not enough. You watch other people laugh at nothing, move through their day without a second thought, and you wonder what that must feel like to just be. For you, nothing is ever that simple. Every conversation gets replayed, every silence gets decoded, and by the time you figured out what someone meant, they've already moved on to something else. This is what it means to be a deep thinker. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your mind works this way. Deep thinking runs on a brain region called the default mode network, the part that lights up when you're doing nothing at all. In most people, it quiets down once they're focused on a task. In you, it barely turns off. It keeps running in the background, connecting one thought to the next, long after the conversation has ended, long after the room has emptied. Psychologists call this trait high openness, a hunger for meaning that shows up as curiosity when you're a child, and exhaustion by the time you're an adult. Here's where it gets complicated. That same wiring that lets you notice what everyone else missed, the tremor in someone's voice, the pause before they answer, also traps you in something called rumination. You replay the conversation, you rewrite it, you imagine 6 different versions of what you should have said instead. That mind is simply refusing to close a loop until it finds the truth at the bottom of it, even when there isn't one to find. So you learn to hide it. You've noticed what happens when you don't. You say something honest in a meeting and the room goes quiet. You ask a question no one once asked, and suddenly you're the difficult one. So you build a mask. You laugh at things that don't move you. You nod along. You make yourself smaller so the room stays comfortable. It works, but maintaining a version of yourself you don't actually recognize is exhausting. There's another cost nobody warns you about. Your sensitivity doesn't stop at your own thoughts. It picks up everyone else's too. You walk into a room and feel the tension before a single word is spoken. You sense your friend's sadness underneath their "I'm fine." People are drawn to that. They tell you things they've never told anyone because some part of them knows you'll actually hear it. But nobody asks who's holding you up while you're holding everyone else. Here's the paradox that makes all of this so lonely. You want real connection more than almost anyone, but the same depth that makes you crave it is what scares people off. Most conversations stay on the surface, the weather, the weekend, the small talk that fills a room like static. You can do that too for a while, but eventually you want to ask the real question, the one underneath the small talk, and you watch people's eyes glaze over, or worse, you watch them retreat. If any of this sounds like your own mind talking back to you, subscribe, because we're about to get into exactly how this pattern got built in the first place, and more importantly, how to carry it without it wearing you down. It usually starts earlier than you'd expect, long before you had the vocabulary for any of it. Maybe you grew up reading a room before you could read a book, sensing an argument 2 hours before it happened, learning that tracking everyone else's mood was the safest way to move through your own house. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, a nervous system that stays switched on long after the reason for it disappeared. That's survival dressed up as insight, and it works so well that nobody ever taught you how to turn it off again. That survival skill grows up with you. It becomes the friend everyone calls at midnight, the one who always knows what to say, the one who can explain anyone's behavior except their own pain. You get so good at reading other people that you forget to check in on yourself. You can decode someone else's heartbreak in a single sentence and still not know why you've been feeling hollow for a week. You become fluent in everyone's inner world but your own, and nobody thinks to ask if the translator ever gets tired. Here's the part that's easy to miss. All of this, the replaying, the masking, the absorbing, the noticing everything, is a brain doing exactly what it was built to do, just running at a volume most people never have to live with. The same circuitry that keeps you up at 3 in the morning is the one that lets you write, create, and understand people at a level most of them can't even understand themselves. That's a different mind entirely, wired to process more than most minds ever have to. Here's what actually changes things: learning when to let a thought finish itself instead of chasing it in circles. Learning that the silence you retreat into is recharging. The same mind that exhausts you notices beauty. Other people walk straight past without seeing it at all. That's a different way of being awake, and the world needs people who refuse to sleepwalk through it. If you felt even one part of this tonight, there are more of us than you think. Subscribe if you want to keep exploring what's actually happening inside minds like ours, and I'll see you in the next one.